You're watching the Original Music Atlanta podcast.
Actually, a band artist out of Louisville, Kentucky. Bryan, how are you doing tonight?
Great. How are you guys doing?
Doing
Awesome.
Great. Doing great. My name is Ray Hems, and this is Rick Gathman. And again, we're just kind of finding artists across the country that are like-minded with us and creating great music and kind of trudging through the music industry in the year 2023, which is a interesting time to be in the industry.
It is.
Yeah, it's crazy now. So we want to talk about people that are creating original art, and it takes a long time to become an artist. I feel like we're all artists. When did you get started to writing music, and when and playing guitar? And what's your background and history on that?
I was actually a trumpet player pretty heavily when I was in elementary school, middle school. My band director was he played acoustic, and like every time we would have a band competition, he would play afterwards at the hotel. He'd play James Taylor for us and sing. Yeah. And so I kind of picked up, started playing bass around 13 and kind of transitioned to the guitar probably about 15. So that was kind of the beginning of it. So I was doing trumpet, bass, then switched to guitar, and I was singing whether somebody wanted to hear me or not. And
right.
I was not that great right off the bat, but
nobody is
over time. Yeah. So, but really with the guitar, like I never was like a person that would like just learn a bunch of like a bunch of cover tunes. I mean, that wasn't what I did with it. I mean, I think right from the bat, for some reason, I just took to like trying to write my own stuff.
Right. So you were somewhat trained, so to speak, being in band. You had to be able to read to play trumpet.
Sure.
Did that translate to guitar? Can you sight read and play guitar, or?
Absolutely not. I'm a very, very lazy guitar player.
Attaboy. Attaboy. Me neither.
Tablature all the way.
Yeah.
But like I said, I mean, I'm writing my own all the time, so I'm not really, if I learn songs by ear anyway, so.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's it's interesting. I kind of started out with the same type thing where, my dad taught me violin when he was alive and reading music and all that, and I hated it. And so when he passed away, I just didn't do any music whatsoever. And then as years go by, I get into band, and I like you, I played trumpet, and I had to start reading, which was pretty easy on the trumpet because, in my opinion, it was easier because it's single notes.
Sure.
You're following a melody, pretty much melody line. But then I found the guitar in 1985, and that was a whole different ballgame. And I tried to read music on guitar, but it was just so much stuff going on that it was just like, all right, shut that off, use your ear, and figure it out. Play from there. So are you?
Yeah, you see a chord for the first time on the staff, and it's just like your mind's blowing. Like, how do I process all those notes stacked on each other? So
yeah. But you said something important there when you said tablature, and I don't know what year tablature came out for guitar, but it was groundbreaking in my opinion because it would show the six strings and where your fingers should be on the frets to learn chords and stuff like that. So I think I saw it first, in the late 80s. It came along, a Guitar World, Guitar Player magazine, and that kind of thing. So are you typically an ear, hear it, figure it out, maybe some tablature help? Back then, we didn't have the internet. Well, I don't know your age. I didn't have the internet.
I don't even think you don't even mess with that, do you?
I don't. No, I mean, if especially since like with my band, every time I ever do a cover song is if we're playing out, I'll do we're 95% original music. We'll throw in covers every once in a while,
Right.
but um I'm just I'm just here. I'm just listening to it and just learning
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
part.
Are are you
Just
are
That's
you
what we
playing
do too,
mostly
yeah.
chords, or as they say, cowboy chords, or are you moving up the neck and bar chords and stuff like that, or
yeah, no, I'm doing all that. Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
I'm definitely a right-handed player. I kind of have a little bit of a when I was 16, I worked in a guitar shop and in Henderson, Kentucky, and they had a really strong bluegrass customer base, and
Oh yeah.
so I kind of learned a little bit through that. Like I'm not a great bluegrass player, but it
Right.
definitely is kind of integrated into my guitar playing
Yeah.
skills for
Yeah.
sure.
100%. Go ahead.
I was just should we be addressing you as Doctor
Oh,
Bryan, Doctor Bryan Fox?
Dr.
I mean,
Bryan.
I would prefer that really.
I apologize, and it just dawned on me that we're talking to a doctor.
Well, I'm gonna
Yeah.
I'm gonna go forward with that and go with Professor.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
blessed me with some
Yeah.
dental work. There,
Yeah.
he's one of the most amazing dentists on the planet.
Awesome.
Yeah,
So do
thanks,
you
man.
do you have a practice
I mean,
in Louisville? You're in Louisville,
Yeah.
right? So what's
Yes.
the name of your practice?
I'm with a group called Mortensen Family Dental. I've been with them since 2003, I believe.
Wow. Wow.
So I've been with them a
he
long
did
time.
4.5 hours of work on my mouth.
He probably could have
At
done
one
9.
time.
He probably could have done 9 on you.
I don't know. Ask him, but you're probably right.
I'm actually
We were talking the other day on a different podcast, or actually, it might have just been him and I talking about how his dentist compared to my dentist doing the Novocaine shot, how
The
you did
pain.
mine, and I was like, "When are you going to start?" And you're like, "I'm done."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think good hands are so important as a dentist. And let's go off track because I'm
Sure.
dealing with dentistry
I
stuff
already
right
did.
now. How many people do you think are deathly afraid of going to the dentist that come to your chair?
Probably, I mean, 40%,
Yeah.
35, 40%.
It depends on probably what they have going on, right? I know I was a little terrified.
Yeah, if they're afraid, they typically are going to have a lot going on, right? Because they've put it
I mean,
on.
I guess, I mean, not all the time. Sometimes the fear can be like if they have a hard time getting numb or something like that, and so they've had a lot of experiences where they feel like they feel everything that their old dentist used to do, or
Yeah.
is that, yeah, I'm not, it's yeah, because I mean, you see people that don't have a whole lot going on, and they have something pop up, and it's they're obviously terrified of that
Yeah.
situation. But
Well, we'll talk off air because I would like to get your opinion on a situation that I have going on right
Yeah,
now.
I'm sorry about that. I just wanted to acknowledge
Yeah.
that fact that
Yeah.
he's a doctor and we're talking to.
I mean, everybody's going to end up 2 things. You are going to die. 3 things. You're going to die. You're going to pay taxes, and you're going to need a dentist in your lifetime, and it's only a matter of time. So, do yourself a favor and floss. Use your proper toothpaste and et cetera. But we do digress a little bit. But that is interesting information that you can be a man of 2 talents.
Dental flossed and fast Fred.
Yeah, yeah,
right.
yeah. So, as far as the band goes, we've got Chip Adams, Greg, you thank, unthank, and we got Sean Ewing on guitars and Harper. Who's Harper?
That's the guitar company I'm with.
Okay, Harper Guitars. So let's talk about those real quick before we get into the band. I've not heard of them, and I have a lot of guitars. I've never heard of that company. Where are they out of, and what do they do?
The luthier's Jacob Harper. Was out of Boonville, Indiana. He recently relocated to Paducah, Kentucky.
Oh, nice.
But they're all basically they're custom instruments. KG Elephant, one of their guys plays one almost exclusively. Three Doors Down guys have
wow.
some. There's, gosh, I mean, the list is pretty long at this point, but
Right.
they're really, really awesome guitars.
Yeah, they're beautiful guitars for sure.
Are they typically based on, a legacy type guitar, say it's a Strat or a Gibson?
Yeah, yes, yeah. The short answer, yes. But obviously those shapes are trademarked. He has a nice, like, touch that kind of makes them signature, but still has that classic kind of look to them.
And sound.
Yeah.
On the electric, what is your go-to pickup configuration and tone? What do you tend to use on your songs?
I'm a big Telly fan, so
Oh, nice.
that's probably my favorite. That's probably my go-to for most of the stuff. If I'm recording, I don't really play electric out much with my band, but like here in the studio, I've got a Les Paul Custom that I'll go to for some rhythm tracks, and I usually do Les Paul Telly probably 90% of the time.
Right. And you not obviously, but do you go to the Les Paul for a little bit of grit and then use the Telly for some of the cleaner tones?
Yeah, exactly. So I'll stack a lot of the background distortion rhythm tracks with I like to switch it up. I mean, I rarely do two tracks of the same guitar, so
Right.
I'll probably lay down a Les Paul and then I might grab a hollow body if I want to make it thicker, and I don't know. I kind of go around the studio and grab some things, but generally I have my go-tos, and I have a great Les Paul and a great Telly that I know if I plug it up, it's going to be awesome. So.
All right. Well, go ahead.
You collaborate with a lot of different people too, don't you? You have guys come in that are outside of this list of guys that you play with as your this is your core band, but you have, like, I know you collaborate with a lot of people like the Nappy Roots and
that's probably most of what I do anymore. The live shows are maybe once every 3 months or something like that, 3 or 4 months, but nightly I'm here. I do a lot of collaborations. I write with Ralph Sains, who's Michael Starr of Steel Panther. I write with I do stuff with Nappy Roots.
You have Sticks. Sticks plays drums for you for some tracks too, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's one of my go-to drummers. He and Kent Slucher, who he plays for Luke Bryan.
Oh yeah.
So he has a nice live setup in his house with a acoustic kit that's all perfectly mic'd up, and he cranks them out for me. So
that's awesome.
Well,
that's where I'll do remote drums. And Darren from Steel Panther, Sticks,
yeah.
He has like a really nice Roland kit, and so he's amazing as well. He does piano stuff for me. He's a multi.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know that.
He's a multi-instrumentalist, and so he's done piano stuff for me and drums as well.
When we were on tour, I sat down and ate lunch with that guy one day.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't even eat. The guy had me laughing so hard, I thought I was going to throw up on him. He's one of the funniest individuals I've ever met.
Yeah, I find that most of these guys that you are on tour or playing bands with, they easily could have doubled as a comedian.
Yeah.
As opposed to a musician.
Well, yeah, we're all clowns.
Yeah, it's really class clowns that happen to learn a different language of notation.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a class clown or just on laughing gas? See what I did there?
Oh, come on.
I'm a little bit of a class clown.
Yeah, I told him before you came on. I said, I'm going to tell you right now, this he's genuine.
Yeah.
He's sweet and he's funny as hell.
Yeah, and he was saying that your lyrics tend to have a little bit of a lighthearted or comical kind of a tilt.
Well, it depends. I mean, it's they're deep.
Yeah.
They're thought out.
What do you like to
Yeah,
write about there?
I mean, I just love great lyrics. I mean, I love story songs.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to really think about everything that I write. I want it to be clever and
Yep.
and well thought out. I mean, I don't really write lines just because they sound cool. You know,
Right.
I mean, I want to make sure that it's a like everything has you know, everything is telling a story pretty clearly, and whether it be about life and death or whether it be
Yep.
about a dumb, you know, a girlfriend that you absolutely was miserable with, or
Yeah.
you know, whatever.
Yeah. Well,
About love, about you know, anything. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Your music's really hooky too. Like you've got great hooks, like right off the bat.
well, thank you. I mean, I know. I mean, I definitely think that that's probably the one of my fortes. I think is, I mean, I love a great melody, you
Yeah.
know, and I mean, I think a song like, I mean, I want things to have hooks. I want, you know, I want things to sound like it. I don't know, get stuck in your head, and I mean, that's definitely something that I try to have in all my songs,
Well, that's
whether
the
it
whole
be
point, right? If you get a
exact,
song
yeah,
that people
yeah,
can't get out of their head, you got a winner.
yeah.
It sounds to me like a formula. You know, no matter what you want to say, if you want to write a popular song, you're going to have, you know, your verse, your pre-chorus, your chorus, your bridge. You know, there's a formula to building a song. But there's, even if you followed that formula to build the cake, if you don't have the hook, you have no frosting. Do you
Yeah.
agree?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm definitely not a prog rock guy. I mean, all my stuff is pretty basic. I don't have, you know, I don't have real long intros. I mean, I definitely am you know, and it's what I like to listen to. You know, it's stuff that
Right.
kind of gets to the point and
What would you consider,
doesn't sit
Brian?
around too long. And
Yeah.
What would you consider your music? Is it country rock? Is it rock, folk rock? What I mean, it's kind of seems to change. Like everything you
yeah,
send me is different.
it kind of goes really, I think, everywhere. I
Yeah,
mean,
you're all over the gamut,
yeah,
except for the progressive end.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Well, I've been writing like heavy metal with Michael Starr,
Yeah.
where I do a lot of lyric. I mean, he really uses me for a lot of the lyrics and vocal melodies. Where he's such a great. I mean, he's a badass guitar player.
Yeah.
right.
I mean, he's a badass musician. Like, I mean, he'll send me these amazing tracks that I'll take and I'll chop up and write lyrics to and try to arrange, and you know, I'll sing what I write over top of his stuff and send it back to him, and we'll go back and forth and he'll re-sing it. And
Does Satchel get
so,
involved with that, or is it just you and Michael?
no, it's just us two.
Huh.
Yeah. I mean, that's sometimes the best collaborative work that you can do is like literally what I learned over COVID, other than that it sucked, it was that how much work I can get done on a Zoom call. Hey, man, what about this part? Sharing my screen. I did some video editing, intricate video editing, very intricate. And I'm like, hey, back that up 2 frames. Let's look at that transition again, and really got work done. And I think after it was done, I really almost feel like we were more productive not being in the same room, because we'd have been goofing off and cutting up and everything else. We were more productive on a Zoom call doing these edits, and I was extremely happy with the end result. Did you have any of that kind of experience through? I mean, if it wasn't for COVID, I probably wouldn't be doing a Zoom podcast with you on a video wall.
Nor would we have Giza is gone.
Right,
Probably.
Giza would never have happened.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. Has he heard Giza?
I've sent you the
Yeah.
Giza is gone. Mhm.
So, yeah.
I've seen a couple of videos. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
So I mean, it's just I
I think the last thing I heard, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to there's some. I hear some melody, like vocal melodies.
Yeah.
Need to be.
Hey,
Well, I keep trying to get
Yeah.
him to do
No,
like
no.
stand in. I just want
No.
him to stand in front of me like Joe's,
Joe Sat. He wants me to be Joe Satriani, but I
Steve
can't
Vai,
legato.
just get out there and sing that melody
Yeah.
part, but he won't do it.
Well, we can go back and forth
Shy
on that.
boy.
No, well, I'm shy. I am shy.
Back to what you're kind of getting at.
Thank you, Bryan.
Well, so the first part of that is, with songwriting and collaborations. Songwriting collaborations, you really have to find somebody that you mesh with,
right?
And you also have to realize that, like, to be open, with Michael Starr and I, like, we know when the other person has a better idea than the one we had. Like, maybe both of us are immediately like, oh, that's it, and we're cool. We don't have the ego. You can't have the ego to where you have to be open to change. You have to be open to, like, try stuff out.
Definitely.
And especially when you like go to somebody and you have an idea or a song and you go to them and they change something that you thought was like such an important part. You really have to kind of give it an opportunity, because we all get demoitis, where we think that the way that this song is the way that needs to be, and kind of get boxed in and not open to improve. But
yeah, at what age do you feel like you became open to that idea? I know in my 20s, forget about it. My part was the part. It was the best part, and it's going to be the part until the parts are no more parts. But as I got a bit older, I opened up a bit. When did that happen for you, to realize that I'm not the smartest guy in the room?
I've never noticed that. I wouldn't go that
far. Fair enough.
No, but it's I think it comes down to when you're actually sitting in a room with someone that you respect. I think because there's times when, like, now I will totally get that in my head, like, I'm not gonna listen to, and that's probably not a great attitude to have. But I think it's more about who you're working with and the trust level, and you rely on that they're talented and have great ideas too, that you can benefit from.
So there was no age. There was no age kind of where you were like, you got to a point where, like, you know what, I'm gonna shut it down and yeah, I maybe it is the people
let
that
yourself be taught.
Yeah, let yourself be taught by somebody, even if they're your same age.
I was gonna say, I can tell you my age was 54, and it was when I started playing with Ray. Actually, him and I played together 15 years ago, but I once him and I hooked back up, which has been a year now.
Yeah, year and a half.
I can sit back and I learned his music that he wrote, and he's given me full freedom to, expand on whatever I want to expand on.
Yeah.
And then once it gets to a certain point, he'll look at me and say, all right, so what do you think about this? I like what you're doing there, but maybe break it down a little bit, simplify it a little bit. And then, so, and I'm, of course, to the point now where I listen to that.
Yeah,
willing the
to
music
hear
that
it.
he's written is brilliant. Yeah. So, and it's gotten better. Every time we play together, it just keeps getting better and better and better and better. So,
and I've surrounded myself, like, my whole process of, like, who I work with when I'm doing my music, and I'm, like, asking my bass player Chip to come in and do bass lines. He's just absolutely incredible. Just as far as a player goes, just blows me off the map. And so, for somebody, and he is a true bass player. He is a studied, just amazing bass player. So, I'm not going to, who am I to tell him how, exactly how to play? I'm obviously going to want to be stupid not to hear what his ideas are for the bass part. Same thing with Darren, Sticks from Panther. The guy is just a ridiculous drummer, so
Yeah.
I obviously want to hear what he's hearing.
Interpretations.
So I've just right now, I've just worked with so many people that I respect and I mean, and in definitely ways that, just blow me away as far as the knowledge that they have on their particular skill set. And
Yeah.
so it definitely makes it easier to kind of just sit back and be like, okay, so what do you think? You have any ideas? Any ways to make it better, or so I think just being able to be in like a room and working with people that you really respect definitely helps the ego go away. And
Yeah.
Well, with that said, you've had, I don't know who all you've had, but I know you've had the Nappy Roots, and I know you've had Run DMC at your house, didn't you?
No. As far as like who I've worked with,
No, at your house for a
Who
party.
you've had at your house?
oh, like Tone Loc and Coolio.
Nice. Oh, how about Coolio,
Yeah.
man? Rest in peace, Coolio. Right?
So,
No.
have you taken anything that you've done has been inspired? Thank you. By those guys, like who? I know you've got. I know I've heard some of your music that's been kind of rappy.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, I'll hear a song that sounds kind of country.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, you're just like,
sounds like you'll write anything.
Yeah, if it's good and it has a great melody, then I think, melody is just the common thread throughout all the genres. You have to, if you have a great melody, it doesn't matter what really genre it is.
Yeah,
right.
This is gonna be hard. Can you, to the layman listener, can you explain what melody is? This is hard for me. It's hard for me to explain what a melody is.
Wouldn't it be basically the vocal line?
Well, it could be.
Kind of.
Well, it could be any musical line passage.
Yeah.
It's like what that, what the sound of a musical passage.
Yeah.
So, the way that you hear it.
Yeah. My go-to, if I try to explain this, is the Andy Griffith whistle. That's a melody. Like, there's a musical line, typically singular noted, right? And typically maybe vocal-ish line. To me, like that, if I was to explain what melody is, it would be that for me. Can you elaborate what thoughts?
That is an example of a melody. It's melody doesn't have to always be good. Melody doesn't have to be so. It's just, I think generically a definition would be, the way that the music sounds. The passage of a musical note. So,
is it always singable or no?
A great one is a good one.
Yeah.
So that's that, and you hear like Beatles. I think the Beatles are masters of melody. They have just so many great, great lines of the way that they sing and
Now let's blow it out of the water. What is harmony?
It's what accents that, or it's what complements that
melody.
Yeah. So you got melody, and then you could have harmony, which might be, that Andy Griffith line with another line on top that's stacked that makes, makes a, what we call harmony, or starts a complete a chord, or an arpeggio, or how would you explain that? And I didn't know we were gonna go down this road, but.
Well, anything that's not the root note of the melodical passage.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, it's not the root note. You're not singing in unison, right? You're not singing an octave down or an octave up. You're singing third, fourth, fifth.
or it could be like when everybody ggets along in harmony.
Aw, that's so
Mm.
adorable.
Brian.
So, do we find harmony
So-
on Laughing Gas? Because I'm concerned about
So you
for
said
real. Yeah.
you're not playing out very often now, is what you said, which I didn't realize because
Well, we just played New Year's Eve.
Mhm.
But a guitar player, Sean, he actually moved to Florida, so he said that he will travel to play with us. But I mean, it definitely needs to be a gig worthwhile for
Sure.
yeah.
for
So there was a place there that we were gonna play for a minute. There was some pool hall or pool. I forget what the name of the place was, but
yeah, Louisville Billiards
that's
Club.
it. I don't know what happened, and I don't know why we didn't end up making it there. But so, what's the situation with local bands that are trying to make it? Do you have any? Are you like even in on what's going on with original bands in that town that are trying to play out and get their music heard?
And venues. What are the venues?
And are there venues to play at, or is it just
Yeah,
strictly?
I think the scene is. I mean, especially for. I mean, I think that the scene that I'm in, and the scene that I kind of grew up in Louisville with. I mean, it's a pretty sad scene. I mean, there's
Yeah.
definitely not very many venues, and a
That's
lot
the
of.
problem.
I mean, some of the venue owners that or even tried to support local music have almost like a local original music have almost given up on it just because they'll stack 4 or 5 bands and then they'll lose their ass that night.
So what are they doing?
People can't get anybody to come.
Are they making the bands sell their own tickets, or do they do ticket sales that are really high
I mean,
priced?
they pay. Yeah, I mean, there is a set rate that you get when you play.
Oh, okay. Well, that's different. What is it?
But I mean, it's mostly cover acts though. They're most of the bands are just playing 4 hours of covers or 3 hours of covers.
10 to 2, 9 to 1, that kind of thing. So one of the reasons that we wanted to also do this podcast and reach out to other cities is based on what we're experiencing in the city of Atlanta, which used to be a really happening scene for pretty much everybody. If you were a cover band, you could play here. If you were an original band, you go here. This part of town was all in, and so it sounds like Louisville has succumbed to the same situation where Stevie Nicks or Journey or Foreigner or Bad Company or name the tribute band.
Right.
There's venues for them to play, but there's nowhere for the Billy Strings of the world to do a gig.
Well, I mean, Billy Strings is pretty famous, so.
but I'm saying a young guy.
The Joe Schmo. I mean the unsigned local original cover. Local original bands. I mean we're in a pretty rare situation to where we go, and if we play, we have a following that we play 90%, 95% original songs, and we can actually have a crowd.
Yeah.
Laura makes really good money, and we make good money, and so I know it's we're very fortunate.
You're at the second tier, though. It sounds like you might be on a regional second tier.
Yeah, people know who Bryan Fox is.
Yeah, and that's a different footprint than say, Nobody's Toenail band,
right?
That has some great music.
That's just the conversation that we try to have on this podcast. Is like, what's
your local scene look like?
Even bands like Ray and I, you know what I mean? Like we struggle to find places to play.
Yep.
And we have a damn good show with a ton of production. That
it's regional act level, with nowhere to play.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah. So what do you do with that? It's like something's got to happen. We can't all be Rich Ward that's been around since the 90s, with a professional. You know what I'm saying?
Well, how many? Let me
know
ask
where I'm
you
going.
this. Let me ask you this. How many music friendly venues are in Louisville? I've only been to Louisville in passing a few times.
And it's such a beautiful town.
Yeah, it's
man.
beautiful. I mean, that is God's country. I mean, I grew up in North Carolina in the mountains, and it's the same ish type thing. And but how many live music venues are there in the city of Louisville? I mean, it can't
I
be.
mean, I honestly, I have no idea. I mean, to be accurate, but just because, like, my daughters will say, "Hey, we're going to see a couple of bands tonight that are local bands, and they're playing someplace I've never even heard of." So,
Right.
I mean, I think it's also just like that's kind of what I was saying earlier, what I was leading to as far as just like my scene and the people that I know and my age that I've kind of um that I am aware of, like that's just such a dying scene. But at the same time, um there's shows that my girls have gone to that are younger bands,
Yeah.
20 years younger, or probably, gosh, 25 years, 30 years younger than I am, that are, playing places I've never heard of, but having packed shows where the
Right.
high schoolers and everything are going and watching them play.
Yeah.
So
So with that said, why do you say it's a dying scene?
I said my age
Yeah.
people
I'm
that
sorry.
I've played with,
Yeah.
that's who I'm most familiar with, and that's a
Gotcha.
very
Yeah.
sad dying
Yeah.
scene.
That makes sense.
That's also 21 and up because we're playing in bars,
Right.
and
Right.
so my daughters are 17 and 19, so
Right.
they have a totally different.
Yeah.
So there are bars, or not bar, I won't say bars. So there are clubs out there in Louisville that local original bands are playing.
Yep. So I hear.
Yeah.
So I hear from my daughters.
And
yeah.
I'm sorry I misheard you. My ears are like,
Oh yeah, no worries.
my right ear is plugged up and I keep pulling it out.
So that kind of leads us to another angle of the conversation where I think Shane Prentice brought it up the other night about the style of music that is changing. It's there are a lot of EDM type of bands. There's a lot of hip hop and rap type of bands that are coming through. And he was alluding to the fact that rock and roll, and maybe in this case, rock country, or that genre is hard to book, hard to do anything with. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, it just seems like it's pretty. I mean, I think that that I mean, I just think it's across the board as far as my age group and what everybody's trying to do. Besides people who are playing cover songs. So
yeah, it's kind of the same here, and that's again, like I said, I wanted to reach out to different cities and see what's going on.
Well, I think my wife, like, she said some statistic, like there's a huge number of people, like, once you turn 35, that never, like, search out new music. Like they always listen to stuff they have already been
consumed,
had grown up with and already listening to at that point.
That's a great point. Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's part of it. It's just, I mean, I try to make it a point to, like, seek out new music and listen to, new bands, and, especially because of that statistic. I want to always try to find other things to listen to.
Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned that. We went last night. I went out and we saw Lisa and three of her friends. We went to see a foreigner tribute band, and they were really good. But it's like, that's what you say, people your age, but I'm in my mid 50s, and it's like I'm still trying to do the original thing, and I still want to play that music out. and I'm trying to find these clubs. We're trying to find these clubs. Like, I don't think there's an age. I don't think you can put an age on anything. It's like what you said, what you're used to listening to and what you hear on the radio or on your Spotify or whatever. It's what you're used to.
Yeah, but that's what you're saying is exactly the situation. It's like
they just don't seem open to want to go hear new music. And
we're accustomed at our ages to hearing actual instruments, stringed instruments, drums, actual bass player, and another generation or two down is accustomed to hearing, what is it, MPC that makes beats, and they're accustomed to hearing, electronic made music that a guy essentially with this iPad can fire off and
like dubstep.
Well, yeah, just rave music,
right.
EDM, and all that kind of stuff. So I think Shane said it the best when he said, music has always been cyclical, except for disco. It never came back, but maybe it did.
It depends on who you talk to.
Yeah, but music will kind of go through this big cycle of kind of returning, and live musicians playing live music is not typically for the younger generation, and that's why all of the tribute bands are bringing the Antique Roadshow people out every weekend.
Wow,
that's my interpretation.
Antique.
Am I wrong?
No.
Well, I am. Well, the interesting thing is, like, I went to a show a while back, and it was it was Oliver Tree, one of the newer artists that I've kind of discovered that I really like. But he was the headliner, and a couple other younger bands that my daughters were excited about. That that they were excited that my wife and I were seeing them, but they came out and played with instruments, but it's so track heavy that, like, I think it was almost like it was so track heavy that they didn't even try to act like they were playing that. Like, I mean, they would stop, it'd be a guitar, a bass player, and a drummer, and the guitar player is the singer. And I mean, there would be times when the guitar player would step back from the mic and rock out, and the chorus is still being sung.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they're not even trying to act like they're not playing with tracks.
Oh, no.
Right.
Which is a totally weird thing.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, like, not even attempting, stopping singing and jamming out with your guitar, and the chorus is still being sung by nobody.
So that
phantom vocals and the drummers twirling his sticks, but you still hear the beat going on. Yeah, that's.
I don't know about the drummer, but the guitar situation and the vocals were just, like I said, it wasn't even, the guitar would just start playing the guitar when he felt like it, even though there was a whole music thing going on. And I mean, both all three of the acts were kind of like that.
Yeah.
And I don't mind tracks. Obviously what we do calls for it, some of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, this was just like over the top. Like, we don't, we don't even care. Like, that we're not doing this.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's lame. Yeah.
Just to a level of just like, not even, I mean, like I said, there's the lead vocal chorus is going on, and he's not anywhere.
Yeah. So that brings up a good point, Brian. Like, I think it seems to be like more offensive if you're using backing tracks and you're using it to really support the vocalist. Vocal backing tracks seem to be what gets the most fire. Like it gets people
get mad about it.
Yeah.
More.
Like in my show, the Giza show, when we're playing it, I literally drop out and there's a piano part that comes in And guess what? There's no piano player. It's what I played in the studio.
But you played it.
Well, I programmed and
didn't
wrote the
buy it.
part. Yeah. And it comes out, but it's a dynamic drop in the song, and people don't seem to like, where's the piano
Right.
player? But if it was a vocal part, that's where the fire comes in, which is interesting.
And those guys are musicians. And
Yeah.
I know a band, and I'm definitely not naming any names, but there's bands. Actually, there's a couple of bands where they use the vocal tracks, and they use it.
Yeah, I mean, almost every. I mean, it's so common these days.
Well, you got to sound like the record. It seems like you have to sound like the record these days at all costs.
Yeah,
my band we never practice. We show up and we kind of wing it and kind of play off each other.
Yeah.
And so trying to think about tracks sounds way too.
Yeah.
It sounds like a train wreck.
Yeah.
Waiting to happen.
Well, it's too much of a crutch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you don't have to think about what you're playing. It takes the human feel out of it. It takes the breakdown. Let's have fun with the crowd out of it. It's like you got to stick to that regiment, and that's it.
You are locked in for sure, 100%.
I mean, you can go ahead and say anything you want over the mic, over the top of what's going on, to make it sound like you're live.
Yeah,
but it's all BS.
Yeah, but I mean, we
unless you're a musician, that's the sad thing for me anyway, is when I'm watching a band doing that and it's 90% tracks, and then all of a sudden somebody comes up and says, make some noise.
Yeah.
And then nobody else is really doing what you're hearing.
I mean,
that bothers me.
I think there's an acceptable amount that, you kind of.
Yeah.
But I mean,
that's
when
my
it's just
point.
But when it's just like, are they even doing anything?
That's my point.
Yeah. Super Bowl.
It's just like, is this even,
I've even looked at the sound guy where he's looked at me right in my eyes and said, this is the easiest job I've ever had. I was like, yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
Playing the.
If you got to go pee, let me know. I'll jump up there and finish it for you.
Yeah. well, I think, we always tend to go down this conversation about, this, and my point from where I'm coming from within my bands, because we do use them, and we use them as support, not crutches, or you know what I mean.
Right.
It's like you use them as harmony.
Yeah, we use we use them. We use them as we see they should be used. But it's also my point the other night was, we're a 3-piece band with a singer. In one case, we don't have the budget to have the Hammond player, to have 3 girls singing back, or girls and guys. I don't know what's proper anymore, but to have BGVs, to have the Hammond player, to have a sax player do a solo on one song. We don't have the budget to pay people to do those types of things. So if you want to hear the songs delivered to you live as we intended them to be in the studio, this is what we have to do. That's where I come from on this whole argument.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on from backing tracks.
Yeah, we're the whole, I think, goal of what we're trying to do here is just try to help up and coming musicians that are trying to do original music, try to get their music heard and get it out there, and have an avenue for them to put it on, whether it be on our podcast or we do shows with them, do a once a month thing at a theater somewhere or at a club that's, kind of like a Mad Life, which I know you don't know what that is. You've been at Mad Life, I think, haven't you? Here in Atlanta?
I don't know.
To see a tribute band.
When's the last time you were in town?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Well, hey, you have.
They jump in town to see a baseball game. Yeah. We went out to lunch. So, so there's a venue. There's several venues around town. So that's basically what we're trying to do, is make it so we can get local bands that are all original, and we just had this thing, the Atlanta
Music
original
showcase.
Atlanta music
showcase.
and there were almost 40 bands.
Yeah, I think it was 26 bands.
Okay, 26
Yeah.
bands. So what we want to do is get a couple of those bands maybe once a month and do a show in a nice place and get people there.
Yeah.
So this music's getting heard. So that's the whole point of this podcast. We wanted you to, I wanted you to get in here because I know that you've been around for a while and and your music is good. And so I know you've been through it, and I know you want your music heard. So, so the whole idea, I guess, of talking to you was trying to figure out what you're doing
and seeing what's going on in Louisville. Yeah.
Right.
So let's get your music heard. Let's listen to Clover and Dandelion. Tell us about this track.
This is not a collaboration. I wrote this one. I don't know. It's like I think this one's kind of more like a country Led Zeppelin, almost like I'd like to think, but I really like the wordplay in this, like Clover and Dandelion. Like I'm a big lyrics snack, but
yeah.
But he's describing a girl like as Clover and Dandelion, like he says, it opens up like she spreads white lies like a dandelion.
Yeah.
One short breath, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So he's
Clever.
saying it's like he's describing her as Clover and Dandelion, where they're both flowers, but they're weeds. Like you don't want them in your yard, kind of thing.
Right.
So that's kind of the reasoning behind the song.
All right. Well, let's take a listen.
That's
All
clever.
right.
Yeah.
Clover and Dandelion.
She spreads white lies like a dandelion. With one short breath, they're everywhere. As they settle in, she sits back and grins at the smell of trouble in the air. And ooh, my heart wasn't built to take her on. She feigns surprise when the rumors fly. Her pretty face shows no tells, and all goes as planned when she hits the fan. Her Caroline never fails, and ooh, my heart wasn't built to take her on. And ooh, I know I ain't that strong. Bad Caroline, she's Clover and Dandelion. She's a wildflower, the nasty side. Bad Miss Caroline. Bad Caroline, she's Clover and Dandelion. She pops up beautiful and smelling sweet, but she's a dirty little weed. Good God, Miss Caroline, come on.
Clover and Dandelion and Caroline. She's a dirty little weed.
That's smoking.
Yeah.
Who is that on the drums?
That was Darren Leader from
Yeah.
Panther. That sticks, yeah.
I thought it
sounds
was.
good, dude. So, as a guitar player, there was a like a high octave. Da, 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 da. Is that telly you were talking about? It's
I actually think that maybe Sean Ewing did some from my band did some remote tracks on that. So.
Oh, really? So this was collaborated over, stacking parts.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the production wise, yeah. We did some remote tracking.
Yeah.
Stuff. On that.
Obviously, we all did it during the past few years. But I hear it's a slide. I can't tell if it's a pedal steel or if it's who's playing slide. Is that you?
No, I think the only thing that I did on that was I think I maybe did the mandolin and acoustic part on that.
I see the mandolin in the back behind you. What is that? Is that electric?
No, well, that's a El Cheapo, Kentucky, but I have a Collins.
Show him that one, dude.
Yeah.
What's that?
Show him that one that you have. That's just badass. Don't you have a really cool mandolin that's like...
Oh, I have a little electric mandolin?
Yeah, let's see that thing.
It's actually a Harper.
Yeah.
Yeah, Harper makes mandolins too?
Wait till you see this thing.
That's something that, when you hear an acoustic guitar in a mix of a song, you can...
Look at that
It's like a...
You can hear it, Wow.
That's badass.
Hey, back up just a little bit. Let me see that thing. Oh, yeah.
That's got the F holes on it. Come on, that's cool.
Yeah.
Single coil
Like
blade.
a 4-string electric mandolin.
This looks like something you'd hand your 10-year-old and say, "Go shred."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that do you track with that? Do you play it live, or what's the deal on that?
Tracking only, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I have a really nice Collins mandolin I use to track with here.
Yeah. I never could understand. I have a mandolin. It's in the other room. I've got a pack of new strings to put on it, and I've had it for 40 years, and it's had the same pack of strings ready to go on it.
Strings are already rusty.
I just don't know what to do with it. Aren't the chords like inverted to...
They are, yeah.
Yeah, they're inverted to what you would play on a normal guitar. And I just don't have that in my brain to handle. I just can't do that one.
That's funny considering you're one of the best guitar players I know.
But it's a mandolin. I mean, that's like saying Marty Stewart, well, Marty Stewart's a bad example because he can play anything. But how about that guy, man? He could play mandolin, like world-class mandolin at like 11 years old.
Yeah.
Played the Grand Ole Opry, and that guy's amazing. So let's talk a little bit about your recording process. I mean, I understand it's been different. It's probably different every time, to be honest. But
yeah, it is. But I definitely have a go-to kind of technique anymore. Unless I have one of my good friends is Malcolm Springer. He's he's just amazing. I mean, he's a pro. Like every once in a while, I'll go down to Nashville and record a song with him. But if I'm doing stuff on my own, then I do an acoustic vocal to a click. I'll send it off to Darren or Kent to get a drum beat. I'll retrack the acoustic.
Yep.
And then, get the bass player in and then start doing, overlays of electric guitars. So, and there's people that I'm not a great lead player. So, and I'll get people to do that stuff remotely.
Yeah.
And I mean, I use a bunch of different people for that. Basically, whoever's available or whoever's best suited for that genre of song, or and then I'll track all the vocals here and do all the harmonies and do all the editing, and I've been having Nick Rucker, who is actually Steel Panthers front of house guy. He has been doing an awesome job. I think he mixed Clover and Dandelion,
Okay. Yeah.
so he mixed that for me, and he does a great job. So that's kind of like my go-to
Crew. You got a
method.
crew.
Yeah,
Yeah. You got your own wrecking crew, right? You know.
yeah,
So
exactly.
so let's step back. Like not 30,000 feet, but 10,000 feet. But are you using Pro Tools? Is everybody on the same DAW type system? Are you making stems to send out? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I just send out waves that zeroed out to a tempo, but I use Logic. I use Logic
okay,
to Pro.
okay. But you consolidate when you say zeroed out. You mean if there are any splices within that take, you consolidate them, and is that what you're calling zeroed out
Well, no, what I mean is that
or level?
I'll start from, I'll start the session from the zero of
Yep.
my, from the recording software.
Yeah.
So when they do that, if they send me stuff back, they have that at the same starting point. That way I'm not moving
Right.
shit around trying to figure out, where it belongs.
Yeah,
'cause you
you're on the grid at that point, right? Everybody's on the same
Yeah.
grid. Do you? This is and sorry to get nerdy
No,
again.
you're fine. Go.
Do you? I have a labeling system when I save files. If I'm doing a song, say it's a Clover, 97 BPM, scratch guitar, and I always name my files with the name of the song, the BPM, and what instrument. And then, and when I was talking about consolidating, sometimes when you're, I don't know, not an A-level awesome musician that can do it in one take, sometimes you have to make some edits and you'll have some splices. So you have to consolidate from what he was saying, zero, to the end of the song. You consolidate it so it's one solid track, whether it's a wave or MP3, whatever you're working with. But then you can send that over to your mix engineer, which he was talking about. But I find if I name it by the song, the BPM, and what it is, everybody knows, what to do with it at that point. How do you name your file management? How do you deal with your file management?
Well, I'll bounce down every single, track individually. I try to name it, something that makes sense to everybody.
Yeah.
And then when I go into my, I'll find all those tracks and like compress all those tracks into one single folder.
Yep.
Into one file. Then I'll name that. And then with if I'm not doing stems, the mix doesn't really need to know, tempo, but a lot of times I'll put the tempo in there, and then I use Dropbox a lot. So
Yeah.
I'll put it in Dropbox, send a link to that compressed package to the mix engineer, and they'll pull it all up.
Right. So you name the folder, not the individual file, the BPM. My point is like, how do you make sure that anybody that's working, you're working on Logic, I'm working on Pro Tools, somebody might be working on Reaper for that matter, everybody has to know if you're recording and you're using Click, and if you're doing any kind of pro recording, you're using Click. So if you're just learning this stuff, I suggest that you practice with a Click, etc. But it's very important to make sure that you're naming your files and using a web host such as Dropbox, which I use as well. And you either name the folder Dandelion or Clover. What is the BPM of Clover and Dandelion?
Oh, I'd have to put up the session.
Okay, no worries. I'm guessing 110, but
I was guessing around 115.
Yeah. So, but that's a very important if you're kind of collaborating in these days via the the web, to that somebody on the other end of that knows, okay, I need to set up a session that's this BPM, and time signature. Sometimes I'll name my folder with the time signature. I mean, people I'm working with know that they can hear it or count it, but you know, leave leave nothing to make a mistake. You know, say the time signature and BPM and name of the song, and you'll have good luck with that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're recording, you're doing it. You're kind of stacking part by part at that point because everybody's remote.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll, a lot of times people want like a, vocal separate and instrumental mix, and then that way they have control of the vocal level. Because a lot of times you don't want, if you're tracking, you want to hear the music more than you do the vocal. But in a final mix, you want the vocal to be higher than everything. So
yeah,
especially in the country world, you want it to be, stand out way louder than normal. So
yeah. Well, we were talking earlier about writing songs and having a kind of a recipe, so to speak. I find it interesting that, like you just said, in country, they're typically looking for the vocals to be, out front, a little bit louder than everything. But in another genre, it might be pulled back or so. I find that interesting when I listen to different mixes of different music, where things sit in a song.
yeah. Yep.
But yeah. So, do you have a website or socials? Where can people go to get a hold of Bryan Fox and listen to some tracks?
I'm BryanFoxBand.com.
Okay.
Bryan Fox Band on Facebook. Bryan Fox Band on Instagram. And the same on Twitter. So it's Bryan Fox.
Spotify. He's all over Spotify.
Yeah, Spotify.
Yeah, I'm on all the streaming. I have some really pro videos on YouTube.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Okay, I've not looked at any of those. Any one in particular that you would have us take a look see?
I've seen them all. I'll show you.
Yeah.
Gasoline is one that really people like quite a bit, but Gasoline is more like radio country.
Yeah.
But I have some rockers too in there.
Yes, he does. Have you talked to David Moody lately?
David Moody, we're talking about him.
Yeah, I see him every once in a while. Yeah.
This is who I met David Moody through.
Okay, we were talking
So
about
we
him.
were talking about the AC/DC tribute band and then how he moved on to Hairball. And
which is a great name, right?
Yeah.
Great concept, everything about it. Yeah, it's cool. So he's a great guy. He played at
Yeah, he is. I love his positivity. He's a great.
He is a very positive man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you talked about having your material on Spotify and stuff like that. Can you speak to? I mean, none of us, unless you have 30 million views, are making any money on Spotify or streaming services. Do you license? Do you license the music to be sold? Do you have your publishing company? Are you trying to get big artists to pick them up, or what's
all the above?
Yeah.
So, but right now, I mean, I do my own stuff. Just I use DistroKid.
Yep.
As a distribution service.
Yep.
Which is, I mean, I think it's only like maybe $20 a year for unlimited like releases.
Yeah.
So
can I bring one other distribution service up?
Sure.
Because this is one I think I'm going to head down. We've been a TuneCore band forever, and it seems like we keep getting charged per album that we put up and stuff. And you're saying DistroKid's a flat thing, but Avid Play, if you're a Pro Tools user, Avid Play, they are again about $22-24 a year, and you can do unlimited releases, and they'll do the same thing. So yeah, you have to have a distribution platform in order to get your music on iTunes, Spotify, et cetera, et cetera. So where do you go from there?
I mean, I don't know. You have any suggestions?
Yeah, I know, right?
to
I know.
get people to
Yeah.
listen to it?
Yeah, it's I mean, I think
We
you're
thought you had all the answers, Brian. That's
Yeah.
why I wanted you.
Yeah, no, I thought you guys were gonna tell me something.
Well, we'll tell you this much. YouTube is great. Brian already alluded to that he spent a lot of money doing his videos, and I think building.
I definitely try to include a video, some kind of video content when I release a song.
Yeah,
I mean, it's definitely way more powerful these days. There's actually a website called Fiverr. Have you guys heard of Fiverr?
I've used it. Yeah.
So that's great to kind of do a cheap and quality lyric video. If you want to do that for the songs, but
yeah.
The bigger ones, like it's mainly just like a project for the love of it, is to do those big, huge concept videos. You're never gonna make the money back on them, but they're just so fun to have.
Yeah,
made.
they really are. You know, and there's no better way to tell the story of a video, of a song, than doing a video. But it could land you in jail like it did me. So you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But anyway,
well, Brian,
yeah,
thank you so much for coming on this show.
Hey,
man.
Thanks for having me.
You were one of the ones I was looking forward to. I couldn't wait to talk to you just because I love you and I couldn't wait to see you.
Yeah, I love you
know what I
too,
mean?
man. It's fun.
You come into town and Lisa and I go out and we have lunch, and I miss Ryan, and I'm glad you and the girls are doing well, and you look great. I can't wait to hear the new music, and I love that you send it to me. And
yeah, I am.
You're one of my favorite people.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Same back to you. I have some bigger things on the horizon, so
I'm sure you do.
About those, when I speak about those, I'll let you know.
Yeah. Seems to keep climbing for you.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah, hopefully it's been fun. Yeah, for sure.
That's why I wanted you on, because I know that you were pushing your original music, and then you just keep on climbing every time you take a step up. It's like, man, I look up to that. I you amaze me. You're just
well, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
I think they call that not ever giving up. And Brian seems like
and
the kind of guy.
staying humble and being true.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But grinding, you got to grind. Brian doesn't not grind.
No,
I can tell from that guy.
Yeah. I've got two. Actually, gonna turn off the Zoom, and I'm gonna finish vocals on one song, and then have to start doing instrumentals on a different song tonight. So
well, we'll
that's
let
my
you.
evening tonight.
We'll let you go. Send my love to your family, and
I sure will. Tell Lisa hello.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll see you soon for sure.
All right.
All right, brother.
Good to talk to Kentucky. See you guys.
Thanks, Brian.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
You're watching the Original Music Atlanta podcast.